Hello learners, in our previous video we delved deeply into the definition and meaning of terrorism. Today in this second video we will explore the characteristics of terrorism in greater details. Let's uncover the key traits that define and distinguish this complex phenomenon. First, the characteristic is that the understanding of features of terrorism. Terrorism is a complex phenomenon aimed at instilling fear, forcing governments and influencing societies for political, religious, or ideological purposes. Unlike other forms of violence, terrorism seeks to impact a broader audience through fear and media coverage. It is often perpetrated by non-state actors but can involve state-sponsored activities. Terrorist motivation vary, including political agendas like overthrowing governments, religious extremism to establish theocratic states, and ideological goals such as left-wing or anarchist movements. Social inequalities and perceived injustice can also fuel support for terrorism. Terrorist tactics include using improvised explosive devices, which is IEDs, assassinations, hijackings, cyber attacks, and kidnapping to achieve objectives. The impacts of terrorism are wide-ranging, including inducing fear, disrupting social cohesion, polarizing communities, and destabilizing governments. Economically, it disrupts businesses and increases security costs. Politically, it influences national and international policies. To combat terrorism, understanding its motivations, tactics, and impacts is essential. Addressing root causes, improving security, and fostering community resilience are critical steps in developing effective counter-terrorism strategies, ensuring a comprehensive approach to this global threat. So learners, the next characteristic is that political objectives. Politically motivated terrorism is a strategic form of violence aimed at achieving specific political objectives, such as overthrowing governments, gaining recognition, influencing policies, or destabilizing societies. Unlike other forms of violence, terrorism is calculated to send a broader message and create political change. One key goal of terrorism is to overthrow governments and establish new political system. This often occurs in context of oppression or lack of representation, as seen in the activities of the FARC in Colombia or the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. Another objective is gaining political recognition, particularly in struggles for national or ethnic identity. Groups like the Irish Republican Army (IRA) and the Tamil Tigers (LTTE) use terrorism to draw attention to their causes and pressure governments for acknowledgement. Terrorism can also aim to influence policies by instilling fear, demonstrating the capability to disrupt society. For instance, Al-Qaeda's September 11 attacks sought to provoke a significant response from the US, shaping foreign policy in the Middle East. Additionally, some groups, such as Hamas, provoke harsh government responses to radicalize populations and gain sympathy, fostering a cycle of violence and repression. Terrorists often target symbolic locations or figures to maximize their message. For example, a shining path in Peru used terrorism to destabilize the government, create chaos, aiming to facilitate the Marxist revolutions. The media amplifies the impact of these acts, spreading fear and attention beyond the immediate victims. Understanding this political motivation is critical for effective counterterrorism. Addressing underlying political grievances, implementing reforms, and promoting dialogue can reduce terrorism's appeal. Security measures combined with reconciliation efforts can undermine the strategic objectives of terrorist groups and foster long-term stability. So learners, the third characteristic is that ideological underpinnings. Terrorism is often driven by strong ideological or religious beliefs that provide both motivation and justification for violence. This belief can be political, religious, ethnic, or social, shaping the actions of terrorists who view their cause as righteous and their method as necessary. Left-wing groups often aim to dismantle capitalist systems and establish socialist or communist regimes, using violence to achieve their goals. The Red Army faction in Germany exemplifies this approach. In contrast, right-wing groups promote nationalism and racial superiority, targeting perceived threats to their identity. Organizations like the Ku Klux Klan in the United States are examples of such extremist agendas. Religious ideologies also play a significant role in terrorism. Groups like ISIS use radical interpretations of Islam to justify violence, seeking to establish an Islamic caliphate. Terrorism, however, is not confined to one religion. Om Shinkryo's 1995 Tokyo survey Shireen attack reflects apocalyptic beliefs, while Hindu nationalist groups in India have also engaged in religiously motivated violence. Ethnic and nationalist groups focus on independence or resisting oppression, such as the Tamil Tigers (LTTE) in Sri Lanka, which sought a Tamil state, and ETA, which pursued Basque independence in Spain. Some terrorist groups are driven by social causes, targeting environmental destruction or animal rights issues. Groups like the Earth Liberation Front (ELF) have conducted attacks to advance these agendas. Terrorists often rationalize their action as morally justified sacrifices, dehumanizing their opponents and viewing themselves as martyrs or heroes. This ideological fervor facilitates recruitment, radicalization, and the spread of propaganda, worsening societal divisions and prolonging conflicts. To effectively counter terrorism, strategists must address the root causes of radicalizations, counter extremist narratives, and foster inclusivity. By understanding and addressing these underlying ideologies, societies can work toward preventing violence and building lasting peace. So, learner, the next character is intend to create fear. Terrorism aims to create fear, disrupt normal life by targeting civilians, symbolic location, spreading a sense of insecurity. Attacks on public spaces, schools, and cultural landmarks amplify this fear, which is further magnified by media coverage and terrorist propaganda. The unpredictability of attacks intensifies anxiety, making people feel unsafe. Sustained terror campaigns and warnings of future attacks perpetuate a constant state of fear, disrupting daily routines, societal functions. The psychological impact extends beyond immediate victims, causing widespread panic, behavioral changes. People may avoid public spaces, gatherings, and travel, disrupting social and economic activities. Fear can increase division with communities, fueling polarization, suspicion. Trust in government and neighbors may erode, leading to skepticism about safety. Prolonged exposure to terrorism can lead to mental health issues like anxiety, depression, and PTSD, especially among vulnerable groups such as children and the elderly. To counteract fear, governments should provide transparent information, promote resilience, offer mental health support, and encourage social cohesion. Programs that foster unity and emergency preparedness can help mitigate psychological impacts and enhance community resilience, ensuring societal harmony in the face of terrorism. Dear learners, next features is non-state actors, perpetrators of terrorism. Non-state actors are pivotal in global terrorism, operating independently of government structures. These entities include groups, organizations, and individuals employing terrorism to achieve specific goals. range from loosely organized groups to highly structured organizations, often supported covertly by sympathetic states. Their decentralized natures make them resilient and difficult to dismantle. Members may include ideologies, zealots, mercenaries, unified by shared objectives. Non-state actors pursue diverse motivations, including political goals like influencing regimes or promoting separatist agendas. Religious ideologies also drive many, which aims to impose belief or defend perceived threats to faith. Socioeconomic factors like poverty, inequality often fuel resentment, while acts of terrorism may be framed as retribution for injustices. Limited resources compel non-state actors to adopt asymmetric tactics designed to maximize impact and minimize direct confrontations. These include guerrilla warfare, bombing, suicide attacks, and cyber terrorism. Alongside hostage taking for ransom or political leverage, this method disrupts adversaries, instill fear, and gain media attention. Non-state actors face operational challenges like restricted resources, vulnerability to state intelligence. However, their decentralized structure and adaptability grant them significant advantages, allowing them to innovate and persist. Ideological commitment further bolsters resilience, motivating members despite hardships. Notable non-state terrorist actors include groups like Al-Qaeda, responsible for the September 11 attacks, ISIS, which declared a caliphate and employed extreme violence, Boko Haram, aiming to establish an Islamic State in West Africa, and FARS, involved in Colombia's armed conflict with kidnappings and drug trafficking. The actions and strategies of non-state actors in terrorism present formidable challenges. Their reliance on asymmetric warfare, diverse motivations, and operational flexibility underline their roles as persistent threats. Understanding this factor is vital for devising effective counter-terrorism measures. Dear learners, the next characteristic is that asymmetrical warfare. Asymmetrical warfare is a key strategy in terrorism, allowing terrorists to confront more powerful adversaries despite their limited resources and capabilities. The core of this approach lies in the use of unconventional tactics designed to exploit the vulnerabilities of stronger opponents, particularly by targeting civilians and non-combatants. Below are detailed description of common asymmetrical warfare tactics. Explosive devices. Terrorists use various explosive devices, including improvised explosive devices, car bombs, suicide vests to cause mass casualties and widespread damage. Common targets include crowded public places, transportation systems, markets, and government buildings. Bombings are intended to instill fear and chaos, disrupting daily life, eroding public confidence in security measures. High-profile individuals such as political leaders, military officers, journalists, and activists are targeted to eliminate key figures and create power vacuums. Assassinations require detailed planning and precise executions, often involving insider information and sophisticated methods. The murder of prominent figures sends a strong message, demonstrating the terrorists' reach and capability to strike at influential personalities. Hostages, including diplomats, tourists, aid workers, and journalists, are abducted to negotiate ransoms, demand political concessions, or generate publicity. The threat of harm to hostages is used to exert pressure on governments and organizations, while the public nature of kidnapping serves to draw media attention. Ransom provides significant funding for terrorist operations, sustaining and expanding their activities. Aircraft and vehicles, planes, buses, trains, ships are hijacked to create high-stakes situations that attract international attention, force political negotiations. Hijacking often involves the threat or use of violence to control hostages and negotiate demands. High-profile hijacking, like the events of September 11, 2001, demonstrate the terrorist ability to execute complex operations with dramatic consequences. Cyber attacks targets critical infrastructure such as power grids, financial systems, communication networks to cause widespread disruption and economic damage. Stealing sensitive information, defacing websites, and spreading propaganda through digital means are also can be regarded as common tactics which are used by terrorists. Dear learners, the next characteristic is that symbolic targets. Terrorists often select symbolic targets to maximize the impact of their attacks, aiming to send strong messages, attract media attention, create psychological effects. These targets are chosen for their significance in representing power, authority, and cultural identity. The targets include centers of power such as parliaments, presidential places, military installations. Attacks on governments buildings challenge the legitimacy of the state, while strike on high traffic areas like airports, train stations disrupt transportation, trade, and tourism, causing economic damage. These attacks are designed to generate fear, political consequences, often resulting in heightened security measures. Cultural heritage sites such as religious landmarks and museums are targeted to destroy cultural identity and demoralize the populations. Attacks on such sites provoke global outrage, highlight the terrorist disregard for civilizations. Mass events like sports, concerts, festivals are also prime targets due to large crowds, offering opportunities for significant casualties and media coverage, which amplifies the terrorist message. By using asymmetric warfare tactics and exploiting vulnerabilities in these symbolic targets, non-state terrorist groups can challenge more powerful adversaries and disrupt societies. Understanding these strategies is essential for developing effective counter-terrorism measures to protect public spaces, cultural heritage, and ensure national security. Dear learners, the next characteristic is that media exploitations. The relationship between terrorism and the media is complex and symbiotic. Terrorists rely heavily on media coverage to achieve their goals of spreading fear, gaining publicity, and disseminating their ideologies. The dramatic and shocking nature of terrorist acts often ensures extensive media coverage, which can be strategically exploited by terrorists. Here is a detailed look at the role of media in terrorism. Terrorist attacks are designed to be newsworthy, ensuring they receive extensive coverage across various media platforms, including television, newspapers, and online news sites. Visual and emotional impact. But the use of graphic images and videos of attacks can have a strong emotional impact on the public, amplifying the perceived threat and spreading fear. Terrorists use media to disseminate their ideologies, grievances, and demands to a global audience. This can include video messages, manifestos, and social media posts. By showcasing their actions and perceived successes, terrorist groups can attract new recruits who are inspired by their cause and seek to join their ranks. Media coverage can magnify the psychological impact of terrorism, spreading fear, anxiety far beyond the immediate area of the attack. Terrorists aim to influence public perception and political opinions by creating a sense of insecurity and pushing narratives that undermine trust in governments and institutions. Terrorists often time their attacks to maximize media coverage, choosing moments when they are likely to dominate news cycles. High-profile events, locations are selected for their potential to attract widespread attention. Terrorist groups have become adept at using modern communication tools, including social media, encrypted messaging apps, websites to bypass traditional media gatekeepers, reach their audience directly. Journalists and media outlets face ethical challenges in balancing the public's right to know with the risks of amplifying terrorist propaganda and inciting further violence. Media organizations must navigate the delicate task of reporting on terrorism responsibly, ensuring accurate, sensitive coverage with sensationalism. Dear learners, the next characteristic is that network structures. Terrorist organizations increasingly use decentralized network structures, favoring adaptability, resilience over traditional hierarchies. This group consists of semi-autonomous cells loosely connected by shared ideologies or goals. Leaderless resistance model encourages individuals or small cells to act independently. minimizing reliance on central commands. This decentralization enables groups to adapt swiftly, evade detection, and maintain operation even after the loss of key members or cells. Coordination within these networks often occurs through encrypted communication, clandestine meetings. Said ideologies unify members, providing a collective purpose despite operational independence. Example includes Al Qaeda functioning as a global network of artificial group affiliated groups with local leadership, and ISIS, which adopted decentralization after military defeats. Domestic extremist groups such as while supremacist or anarchist organizations also leverage the structures to evade law enforcement. Counterterrorism faces significant challenges in addressing such networks. Their resilience complicates detection, infiltration, as targeting a single leader or cell is insufficient to dismantle the organizations. Effective countermeasures require disrupting multiple cells and severing communication channels. The use of media by these groups further amplifies their impact spread ideologies. Understanding and addressing these dynamics is crucial for crafting adaptable and comprehensive counterterrorism strategies. Dear learner, the next characteristic is that use of technology. Modern terrorists have adeptly incorporated technology to enhance their capabilities, enabling them to recruit, propagate their ideologies, coordinate operations, execute attacks more effectively. Here's an in-depth look at how terrorists use technology. Terrorist groups utilize social media platforms to identify, radicalize, and recruit new members globally. They exploit algorithm to reach vulnerable individuals and engage them through targeted messaging. Social media is a powerful tool for spreading propaganda. Terrorist organizations produce high quality videos, graphics, and publications to promote their ideologies, showcase their activities. Encrypted messaging apps, forums are used for planning, coordinating attacks, allowing operatives to communicate securely across distances. Terrorists use drones for reconnaissance, surveillance, and even direct attacks. Drones can bypass traditional security measures, provide real-time intelligence to terrorist operatives. Encrypted communications are crucial for maintaining operational security. Terrorists use sophisticated encryption tools to protect their communications from interception by security forces. Cyber terrorism includes attacks on critical infrastructure, data theft, and spreading malware. Terrorist group exploits vulnerabilities in cyber systems to disrupt services and instill fear. Case studies. ISIS is known for its extensive use of social media for recruitment and propaganda. It has also utilized drones in battlefield operations in Syria and Iraq. Al-Qaeda uses encrypted communication to coordinate between its cells spread across different countries. Its operatives have been known to use the dark web for secure communications and transactions. Groups in various countries use social media to organize rallies, recruit members, and spread their ideologies. Dear learners, the next characteristic is that global reach. The nature of modern terrorism is increasingly transnational, with terrorist networks leveraging global communications and transportation systems to operate across borders. This global reach poses significant challenges for counterterrorism efforts. Terrorist organizations recruit individuals from various countries, creating a diverse and widespread networks of operatives. They use online platforms to attract recruits from different cultural and linguistic backgrounds. Groups like ISIS have recruited foreign fighters from around the world to join conflicts in Syria and Iraq, creating a global pool of experienced combatants who can return to their home countries to carry out attacks. Coordinated attacks. Terrorist networks plan, execute coordinated attacks in multiple countries, demonstrating their ability to operate on a global scale. The 2015 Paris attacks, orchestrated by ISIS, involve operatives from several European countries. Logistics and fundings. Transnational operations require complex logistics and funding mechanisms. Terrorist groups use global financial systems, including illicit trade and cryptocurrencies, to finance their activities. International cooperations, effective counterterrorism requires cooperation and information sharing between countries. This includes joint operation intelligence, exchange, harmonizing legal frameworks to combat terrorism. Enhancing border security and monitoring travel patterns are crucial to prevent the movement of terrorists across borders. These involve using advanced technologies such as biometrics and data analytics. So, learner, in the conclusion, we can state that to combat terrorism effectively, a multidimensional approach is essential. Enhanced intelligence, including surveillance and cyber monitoring, is crucial for preventing terrorist activities. Coordinated law enforcement and military operations are needed to dismantle terrorist networks and neutralize threats, such as targeted strikes and arrest. Strong legal systems are necessary for prosecuting terrorists, preventing financial support for terrorism, including international and domestic laws. Addressing underlying causes like poverty, inequality reduces the appeal of terrorist ideologies by investing in education and employment. Programs focusing on rehabilitation, community engagement, and psychological support help prevent radicalization and assist former terrorists. Building resilient, unified communities through social cohesion, tolerance, and support for victims strengthens societal defenses against terrorism. The strategies combined with international cooperations, preventive measures are key to effective counterterrorism efforts. Now learners, let's focus on the possible questions that emerge from the above discussions. The first is, what are the main motivations behind terrorism? Second is, how do terrorist groups exploit the media to further their objectives? Third is, what distinguishes terrorism from other forms of violence? Fourth is, what role do ideologies and religious beliefs play in the radicalization process? Fifth is, how can terrorism political objectives to be addressed to reduce its appeal? So learners, today we have explored the various characteristics of terrorism and its significance. In the last video of this unit, we will delve into the analysis of the differences between terrorism and freedom patriotism. Thank you for staying with me till the end of this video. See you in the next one. Thank you.